Welcome home cooks to Living Foodwise. I'm Janine and today we are making a traditional Italian dish of Osso Bucco. If you've ever had this dish before, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's so yummy. It's made with the shin of veal, lots of yummy herbs and spices, very easy to make but so good, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with you. Osso Bucco is made with the veal shins, but at a pinch I said you could also use beef. And the important thing about this dish is that you want to get a piece of meat that has the bone, the large piece of bone with the marrow in it. It's the marrow that gives this dish its really yummy, rich flavour. So we've got our meat, we've got some celery, some chopped up carrots, some onions, some verjuice. If you've never heard of verjuice before, it's basically kind of like the start of wine, but it's not been fermented to become alcoholic. So it's pre-alcohol, but the same flavors. It's a little bit sweeter, still good. We've got olive oil and some tomato paste. Let's get stuck into this. So the first thing we want to do is cook our meat off. And we can't do that without coating it in some corn flour. I'm using corn flour rather than wheat flour because I want to keep it wheat free or gluten free. And this has been just seasoned with some salt and pepper. So let's get our beef or veal, and we're just going to very lightly, you're not looking to crumb it or anything like that. You just want a very, very light coating. And what this does, guys, is as it's being cooked, it thickens the sauce, which is really important. So just giving that a little, you can do the sides too if you want it saucier, thicker. Now we have our meat pieces all coated in the corn flour. I'm going to set that aside and start heating up my pan. Now I recommend you use one of these really heavy pans because we want to let it simmer for ages and they hold their heat really, really well. You can also put it in the oven if you don't want to leave it on the stove top. So on she goes. I have some Nuttelex or some vegan butter that I'm putting a big knob of, and a very big splash of olive oil. So the butter's going to give it, or the Nuttelex is going to give it a little bit of extra flavour, and it is prone to burning, so the olive oil helps to stop that burning. There you go, little tip. You could do it with just olive oil too, that's fine. This will just give it an extra richness. Especially with the flour, when it goes in, it makes a very silky sauce. Let's go ahead and put in our meat, and what we're doing is just browning the sides. Watch for any spitting fat. So we're going to brown each side just lightly, take them out, and then we'll get started with the veggies. Our meat is all browned, lightly golden. I'm going to take that out and we'll get started on the vegetables. Ooh, these are heavy. First thing first, let's throw in our onions while the pan's hot. Now I have some celery that I've just sliced nice and small. I'm going to throw that in too. And some carrot. Again, nice small dices that I've chopped it into. We'll throw that in, and you just want to make sure you get a nice sweet young carrot when you're doing that. And very importantly, we've got some cloves of garlic that are very just roughly chopped. It doesn't have to, you could mince it, but just roughly chopped is important. Throw that in too. Back on high heat, and we want to let them cook for about 5 minutes. We want them to sweat down. Our veggies are nice and soft and they're just starting to go a little bit brown, but that's okay. Now I'm going to throw my Verjuice in, about half a cup or a cup. Extra flavour. I am making a lot of meat, so it's okay. Now I want to watch for that to evaporate. So we're still getting the flavour, but it's not so liquidy. Probably take a couple of minutes. I have some no salt added tomato paste sachet, which is about 2 tablespoons. I like Legos because they do actually have a very rich and flavoursome tomato paste. Give that a good stir through. It's pre-cooked, you don't need to cook it in. And I have a tin of peeled Italian tomatoes that I'm going to put in also. Just if the tomatoes are large, just give it a good squish so it breaks it down, and give that a stir. Now at this point I would suggest you season it to your liking. A bit of salt and pepper. I like more pepper than salt. I like a lot of pepper. And then finally, the thing we want to add is some stock. Now I'm using a vegetable stock. I think traditionally they use chicken stock, but that kind of seems weird to me using chicken stock with a beef dish. Hence, I'm using veggie. And I'm using Maisel. It's a great brand, they have some lovely products. Give that a stir. And now we put our beef shins, or veal shins, back in the pan and just give it a bit of a push down so that it's right at the bottom. And with these smaller pieces, I'm actually going to put them on their sides so that I can fit them all into one layer. Perfect. Bring that up to the boil. Once it's boiling, turn it down to a very low simmer and let it sit for as long as you can leave it, 3 to 4 hours. Our Osso Bucco has been simmering very quietly on the stovetop for the last 3 hours and it looks amazing. In fact, the meat has tenderized so much that they have just completely fallen off the bone. It is just beautiful in that lovely gravy. You can see how nice and thick that gravy has become. And the pieces have just fallen apart. So now to serve it, I have actually made some celeriac mash. Celeriac mash is a great way to have a mash that is completely without starch. So the other thing you could do is a cauliflower mash if you wanted to, do a lighter meal. Obviously, traditionally it's served with potato mash or with polenta sometimes, but I like the celeriac. So we're just going to put some of that meat. Oh, well, here's one on the bone still. How amazing does that look? Let's get some of that lovely sauce with all the... Oh wow. Doesn't that look divine? Tastes pretty damn good too. Probably too hot for me to try, but I've had this meal so many times I know how amazing it is. And you will want to try this out. Now, if you're not a beef eater or a veal eater, that's okay. You can actually do this dish with lamb chops, so you can have a lamb version, or you can get, what would be really lovely is if you go to the butcher and get them to get a lamb leg and cut it into nice thick pieces. That would be perfect. And I think that's probably, it's really well suited for red meat. I don't think it would work with anything else, but there you have traditional Italian osso bucco with a slight gluten-free, dairy-free twist. To serve this meal, I would recommend you get some nice fresh parsley. Just going to cut that very, very finely. And sprinkle a little bit of the green on there for some fresh greenage. And that is ready to serve. Hope you've enjoyed this recipe. If you have, please hit the like and smash that subscribe while you're there. Hit the bell and you won't miss any future recipes from us. Until next time, see you later. Still the same cut. No, I'm going to start that again. I'm going to get my